And I'm sure many of you, not most of you, have as well. So it's important to have a heart of generosity, a heart of stewardship, and a heart of generosity. And so when a servant that does not properly tend to things is dealt harshly with, in a case like this. And I said earlier, Jesus was the personification. Jesus was the example of the nature of God. Well, if that's the case, and he was telling us this with his own mouth, these were his own words, and he's telling us this, how important is it to consider our giving, our investment into the kingdom? Now, let me draw, and I feel like I'm so pressed for time, I ain't got time to really dig. You give me 5 more minutes, all right? I'll try to limit it to 5 more minutes, all right? Understand, giving is not just about money, okay? Investing into the kingdom is not only about money, about finances. There's a gamut of things involved there. But it is an important part of kingdom work. So, in this parable, we are informed that God entrusts us with everything that we have at his sole discretion. We established that a while ago. That God knows your talents, he knows your abilities, he knows your giftings because he gave them to you. And so he understands that. Now, I said that to say this. We are not called to judge whether we have received too much or too little. That's not our call. I know so many times I get frustrated myself and I feel like there's not enough money at the end of the month. Or it's too much money at the end of the money, so to speak. We all have this frustration. All of us do. All of us deal with that unless you're, we got any multimillionaires in the midst. Now, because if what I'm saying, if you're a multimillionaire, it won't apply to you probably. But if you're not a multimillionaire, then you understand what I'm talking about. And even multimillionaires, many times, they came from rags to riches, so to speak, and so they understand too as well. But we're not called to judge whether God has given us too much or given us too little. But we're to make use of the talents that he has given us. We're to make use of the talents for the purpose of serving the Lord faithfully and serving him humbly. Everybody, all people, everybody has skills and talents and possessions that's been entrusted to them by God. I've made this example before in reference to talents. The Lord gave me a talent to play guitar. He didn't give me as much talent in that area as others. He gave me more talent in that area than some others, but that's God's choosing. Now, and I can work on that and try to enhance it and try to make it even better. And I try to do that so many times. But God entrusted that talent to me. Now, what I do with it is up to me. If I chose to quit playing that instrument at all, that's my choice, even though I have the ability to do so. If I chose to stop playing in church and go back out to the honky-tonks and the bars and play in those places, that would be my choice. God have been giving me the talent, but that would be my choice as what I do. And I will stand before God and answer for the choices I made with it. Now listen, that works the same way with the generosity of my heart with my finances. I will stand before God and give an account to him as to how I handle my finances. And if I use my finances to help to extend his kingdom, to build his kingdom, I don't use the word upgrade, but I don't believe we upgrade it, but to extend his kingdom, to advance his kingdom, that's the word I'm looking for, to advance his kingdom. I will stand before God and give an account as to how I steward things concerning that, money and everything else as well, talents and everything. I will stand before God and give an account for that. Here's the thing. No one is responsible for the way that others use their gifts. You're not responsible for how I use my gifts. I'm not responsible for how you use yours. I can advise you. I can give you the message I can give you now. I can give you words about generosity, all these things. But what is actually done, how you actually handle it, how you actually do it, I can't govern that. I can't make you do anything with it. I can't make you not do anything with it. But I say this, just like me, we will stand before God. We will stand before God. So, no one else is responsible. I'm not responsible for how you use or abuse or misuse whatever God's given you. I'm not responsible for that. Just like you're not responsible for how or whether I do. We're responsible for the proper use of our own gifts. And Jesus taught the need for faithfulness in service during the time prior to his return. He taught about faithfulness, being faithful to the kingdom, being faithful to God. He expects faithfulness in proportion to ability. Now, it's one thing if you don't have the ability. It's another thing altogether different if you have the ability, but you're not using it faithfully. You're not using that ability, being faithful to the kingdom and the purposes of the kingdom. Am I making sense? Everybody follow what I'm saying? Okay. So, he's going to reward faithfulness. That's what this parable teaches us. He's going to reward faithfulness. He's going to punish unfaithfulness. And his return is going to bring time of accountability. I don't know about you, but I know the Lord's return. I just feel, now maybe 100 years or 1,000 years from now, I don't know, but I just feel it that it's going to have to be soon. I just feel like it could be any time now, given the circumstances around the world that we're in now. We're on the verge of every catastrophe you could think of happening. Got another hurricane out there spinning around now. A record year for hurricanes, probably, I imagine, but hurricanes and floods and fires and disasters, natural disasters, shootings, murders. I mean, all kinds of political unrest, religious unrest. Anything you can think of, we are on the cusp and the verge of anything happening catastrophic at any moment. At any moment. And I can't help but feel a sense of urgency like that, that ties in with that very thing that Jesus said. Work while it's day. Work while you can. Work while you have time to. Because the night's going to come when no one can. The night is coming when you won't be able to work. The day's going to be done and you won't be able to work. You can't do it. There's certain things you can't do it after dark. I try to relegate those things that I can do during the day and try to remember, and sort them out. Well, I can do this at night. I got lights and stuff, and I can do this in the house or what. I can do this at night. But there's certain things I can't cut grass at night. I could, but it wouldn't be good for me to wash a car at night. There's certain things that after sundown you just can't do. You've got to do them during the day. You've got to work at them during the day while you have the daylight to do it so, because the night's coming and you can't do some of these things. Man, so it ties in what Jesus said. And so we're responsible to manage our time. Christ taught accountability. He taught faithfulness to God. I'm going to wrap it up with this. I think my 5 minutes is done. Those faithful in managing receive additional trust. We saw that those that had 5, he gave 5 more. He gained 5. He gave that to them. The one had 2, he gained 2. He gave that to them, etc. So we need to understand this. If you hadn't heard anything else I said today, and I told you last week we were really going to try to slow down and try to break down and do more teaching in this than anything else, and I'm trying my best to stick to that for right now. This is what I'm going to say. Life and all of its possessions are our trust fund from God. You might want to write that down. If you're taking notes, jot it down. If you ain't taking notes, jot it down anyway. Life and all its possessions are our trust fund from God.